Okay, let's adjust this a little. There we go. All right, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. Today is the 21st of November. It's 9:28 in the morning. And our weather is nippy, 64 now, high is 72, low 57. And I don't think we're expecting anything but sunshine for a few days anyway. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the live stream and make sure we got sound and picture and put up a couple of quick posts. We got sound and almost done. Almost finished. Done. Okay, being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise and then we'll get started. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, what we're going to do today is we're going to go into the war in Europe that's about to blow up with Russia and Ukraine, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Iran, and we're going to talk about where is the beast, the Antichrist, whatever the different churches call him, the man of sin that's going to come and talk peace according to church narratives. And where is that? I mean, war's about to start any hour. Where is he? Okay, and we're talking world war. If you think that China and North Korea are just going to kick back and let Russia and Iran get devastated, you better think again. These people, North Korea, okay, they're not that smart. China's rather smart, and they understand that America and her allies will start with Russia and Iran, and then when they're gone, China's gonna, have to start working for America. I mean, America's going to dictate to China, and along with China goes North Korea. Okay? The only chance they have is for the four of them to stand united. And if they let them fall, they're all going to be gone. Okay? What was that saying in World War II? First they came for the Jews, then they came for the communists, then they came for the gypsies, then they came for this, and then they came for me. That's what China and North Korea realized. Don't think they don't. They're not about to do nothing. We read that it's suspected that one of the 3 internet cables that was cut in the Baltic region was done by China. The other 2 by Russia. So don't think that China and North Korea are likely to just say, well, we don't need Russia and Iran, because they know they're next. I can't give you a written guarantee that they're going to do nothing, that they're not going to just sit still for it, but I don't expect it. Iran has a caliphate. What is a caliphate? A caliphate is a large area that's dominated by a caliph. In this case, it's Ayatollah Khomeini, who's the supreme leader of Iran. The elected president has a little bit of power and influence in this type of thing, but the one that calls the shots is the Ayatollah Khomeini, and we haven't heard much from him recently. They say he's in the hospital as a result of a stroke. There were rumors that he's dead. Could he be dead? Sure. They're afraid to release it until they have another one picked out, which is supposed to be the son of Ayatollah Khomeini. So he's basically like a king. All right. Now, the democracy is just basically a front. Now in the UK, they have a king, but the democracy really kind of runs things. I believe if the king wanted to intervene, then he has the power, but I don't think we've seen anything like that in many, many, many decades. Okay. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Now, so who's in the caliphate now? It's easy. Yemen, which biblically is Edom, Gaza, Lebanon, basically through Hezbollah, Syria, and Iraq. Now, Saudi Arabia seems to be almost in the caliphate, as does the UAE, and we're rather certain Jordan's going to go, probably by force. And then you got Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, which have no ability to defend themselves without America, so you could forget them holding out. And then Iran has a caliphate. They have one now. It's not in its fullness, but it's not that immature either. Okay? It's on its way. And America and the European Union, they know well that if Iran is allowed to continue, they'll have all the oil-producing countries in the Middle East, natural gas goes with it, plus other products under their dominion, and they'll be the head calling the shots, and then they would over time merge it into one country. Maybe they call it Persia, or they call it, who the heck knows what. The other contender for the caliphate was Erdogan in Turkey, but he seems to have dropped off the competition. He's not out there building a caliphate. Iran is. Now, with a caliphate, they would probably operate sort of like the Romans, and there would be a governor of Yemen, a governor of the Jordan area, that kind of thing, probably. That's my thoughts. Okay. So this is the real threat. Now, combine that with BRICS trying to destroy the euro and the US dollar by conducting oil and natural gas sales in currencies pertaining to the BRIC unit of currency, not the US dollar or the euro, and they're going to try to cripple the economies of Europe and America, and along with it will go, I'm sure Central South America, North America, um, lots of countries, parts of Asia. Now, would BRICS be a caliphate? Not so likely right now because it is full of countries that are not anywhere near being Muslim, like China. Okay, Russia has a significant Muslim population, but they're not moving in that direction. Neither is India, which is predominantly a Hindu country. And they have other players in there like South uh, South Africa, which is not a Muslim country, and they got a bunch of Muslim countries too. But I think BRICS is not anything in Bible prophecy. It's not the 10 kings. They're up to 27 or 28 members now. So we could forget the number 10, and it's doomed for destruction in my book, okay? So I wouldn't, for BRICS is a threat to the economies of many countries, but it's not any significant biblical prophecy, and it never really kicked into gear into its fullness yet either. So I think it's just going to maybe have a brief period of time, but when America goes down, the daughter of Babylon, it may surge for a while, but I highly, highly doubt it'll have any sort of a significant run at all. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Okay, Jeremiah 30:11 takes care of that, as does Jeremiah 46:28. It says God will destroy all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into over many centuries, and I figure that's about 125 countries, and that should happen uh, based on Jeremiah 30 before the birth of the nation in a day which is on its way. And that brings us to the world war that we're seeing develop at a rapid pace. So last night, Ukraine launched someplace between 20 and 30 Storm Shadow missiles, which were given them by the United Kingdom. And these missiles are long-range missiles, and they have a warhead of approximately 1,000 pounds, which is a bunker buster is typically 2,000 and up, but most bombs are 200 or 500-pound bombs. So this is a lightweight bunker buster. What it's really designed for is not so much blowing up a tunnel deep in the earth. It's designed to destroy a fortified military location or any kind of fortified building. Okay? Could be lightly under the ground, or I don't know. But it's not a serious bunker buster. Bunker busters are not really set up as missiles, they're set up as bombs, so they don't have to carry a fuel supply and motors and engines and that kind of thing, like a regular missile would. All right, so it is suspected that there was a command and communications center that they hit in Russia, what's called deep inside Russia, with many of these missiles. And this was where a lot of the North Korean generals and I guess colonels and stuff were located that were working with the 11,000 or so soldiers North Korea sent to Russia. I'm fairly confident that NATO and America, which is in NATO, wanted these missiles to hit where the North Koreans are to send a signal to them. Damage reports are lacking at this point in time. They'll probably get out, but they're not out yet. It was a massive amount of ordnance. and they probably did conduct a lot of destruction. Now, with the ATACM missiles they sent the day before, Russia says they took down 5 out of the 6, and the 6th one was partially destroyed and caused the fire. Now, Russia lies like every other world leader, every single one in the world, bar none. So that may not have been the case. Syria and Iran and Iraq and a lot of these countries say, "Oh, we took down the missile." They never did. So we don't know exactly what happened. There's also reports that it wasn't 6 ATACM from America; it was 12. But the Storm Shadow is not the kind of missile that the UK would give 200 or 300 of them to Ukraine, in my opinion. They're very expensive, and they're specialized to hit high-value fortified targets. That's the purpose. So I don't think Zelensky would have wasted them. Zelensky wanted to definitely hit a high value target with those. And he's trying to send the signal to Russia, hoping for Russia to just leave him the heck alone, let him have all of the territory back that they cede, that the Russians siege. He would probably readily concede to surrendering the part of Russia that he's occupying, which is about 135 square kilometers, not a huge swath of land, but big enough. And Putin's never been able to drive his forces out of there yet. So Putin is proving to be weak like Iran and the other big threateners, But a lot of people are saying we haven't seen Putin really get it together and go big time yet. The nuclear threat, as I covered yesterday, just holds no water in prophecy. And, honestly, if we just keep it simple, these nations are run by criminally insane countries. Pakistan is supposed to have nukes. You think they're stable people? If they have nukes, why wouldn't they give them to Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Hezbollah? The story falls apart, okay? Why would Biden just give Ukraine 2 million landmines if they felt that Russia was going to nuke Ukraine? The landmines are only good for one thing, and that's to stop the ground incursion. And they generally don't stop it. Although 2 million would be a massive mess, it slows it down. With numbers like 2 million, it really slows it down. Now, what they need is various kinds of minesweepers to plow up the land, and in the process of plowing up the land, detonate the mines. Now, mines are not, 50-pound warheads generally or anything like that. They're a few pounds, maybe a kilo or something like that, which is plenty to severely cripple or kill a soldier that steps on it. It also can cause havoc to a truck or a Jeep. Now, they could use more significant landmines to hit vehicles where you're going to get the warhead or the payload or whatever you want to call it, the explosive. You might get it up to, 15 pounds or something like that, which is probably going to be enough to toss the truck up in the air and destroy the truck pretty good, and destroy the Jeep or the Humvee or the bus or the supply truck or the tractor-trailer truck or anything. Now, with a tank, it may blow the tread off the tank, which leaves the tank, so to speak, in the water till they could repair or replace the tank. So it slows down probably tenfold the incursion of the enemy forces, which gives the Ukrainians an opportunity to launch mortars and artillery and short-range missiles, bombs from their F-16s and everything else on the invading army. So it is not a full-blown game changer, but it definitely cripples the invasion. Now, Biden wouldn't bother giving them stuff like that if they felt that Putin was just going to send ICBMs with nukes over there and nuke the place. What good would this do? Biden also gave a new amount of weapons to Ukraine. This was released yesterday. He gave them regular artillery shells, I believe rocket-propelled artillery shells, mortar shells, small arms, and ammunition, pistols and rifles. Anti-biological chemical warfare gear, which is probably some sort of a hazmat suit. So they are expecting chemical biological warfare from Russia, and I am too. Russia's go-to for this is going to be chlorine gas. He's had experience in Syria with this, and he seems to like it. Now, it's rather potent, but it's not 100% kill. It depends on how heavily exposed the person is. But it definitely gets them rather incapacitated rapidly in a minute or 2-3 minutes or seconds. It's very fast. And it can be lethal. And it often is. So the biological weapons, like let's just say anthrax or smallpox or something like that, there's a lot of problems with that. The stability of the biological weapon, which can degrade after it's. You have to have the missile or the bomb explode above the atmosphere and scatter the biological weapon droplets or powder or whatever you're using. Gaseous, I suppose, is another option, although it would dissipate. You have to detonate it high, and the idea is that it lands on the soldiers that don't have protection from a hazmat suit. And then with biological, they would just be getting sick. But like with anthrax, you probably have at least 4 or 5 days before you're going to get sick, and that's not a highly effective warfare tool. They can take vaccinations, antibiotics. So, and it's not stable like the chemical weapons. So that would be something Putin could be likely to resort to, which messes the people up if they're taking cover, like hiding in a building or underground or something like that. The chlorine gas can get in the air supply if they're in a bunker or get inside the apartment they're hiding in or wherever. They could hide behind, mounds of dirt they built, and the chlorine will still get them. They could be in a trench and the chlorine gets them. They could be in a pillbox. So they need a hazmat suit and a gas mask, which I expect Biden probably sent a large amount of those over there. And he also sent them more, I believe, ATACM missiles. So he's trying to encourage them to shoot more of these into Russia. Okay? I'm going to look at the live stream and see if the trolls hit us yet. Today, they'll probably hit us. So I'll have to go blocking these disturbed children. thanks for voting for Trump. I'm not blocking you, I'm taking it down. It's irrelevant to the chat. Chief is much better, much better. But keep the prayers going. He's not his own self yet, but he's pretty good on his way. He really is. Thank you for the prayers. All right, so let's move along. So Biden is, and the UK apparently, and probably other countries, France, UK, France, and America, are interested in this Ukraine war expanding to the point where NATO and the European Union get into it. Now, they have a serious threat from BRICS, so they got some motivation there. But Putin is now, I mean, he gave everybody the red line after the ATACM missiles were used, the American ones, now the British ones were used, with some good effect. So is he going to honor his red line, or is Putin going to wimp out? Let's discuss this. If Putin wimps out, what's going to happen is Zelensky's going to keep launching long-range missiles, rocket-powered artillery, long-range drone attacks, and hit all the, somebody said there's 250 targets he could hit with the ATACMs, and the Storm Shadow maybe more, because I think it goes further. But basically, Zelensky's going to destroy any supply chains that Putin sets up within the range of these long-range missiles. Any fuel depots, food depots, ammo depots, missile depots, airstrips, helicopter locations, anything that's within their range, they'll blow up. If they can get enough of these missiles, and I have a feeling they will. Now, at the same time, you have to understand that America and NATO are weakening Russia, and I need to explain how that weakening is working. It's not rocket science, and as soon as I lay it out, you'll grasp it immediately. NATO has, and the EU has, extremely great relations with Ukraine, and they can put their troops inside Ukraine, hands down. Zelensky will feed them. He'll give them free cell phone service. I mean, Zelensky would love it. So they're knocking out all of Russia's capability to conduct warfare against Ukraine from Russia, going in, almost 200 miles into Russia. That means they can rather quickly destroy Russia's ability to support troops inside Ukraine for about 200 miles from Ukraine. That means there's a real supply chain problem for Putin's ground forces inside Western Ukraine that he controls now. Okay? But he has to give the soldiers what? Medical, ammo, replacement parts, replace tanks, trucks, jeeps, buses, etc. It's got to give them food. They got to give reinforcements and rotation troops, and they got to have helicopters near there and all this other stuff, missiles. And see, you push Putin back 200 miles, now he has to use a different class of missile that goes over 200 miles. And that starts getting expensive. And how many of those does he have? So anytime Putin tries to run a convoy of supplies into this roughly 200-mile deep area into Russia from the border of Ukraine, it can be destroyed by their F-16s even, or by their, rocket-powered artillery, or by missiles, So how does Russia support his, what does he have, 400,000 troops in Ukraine? How does he support them? With great difficulty. He has to take trucks and truck it in. Well, I don't think he would take a chance of flying cargo planes, which are poorly defended, into the occupied portion of Ukraine. Now, this weakens Russia with that roughly 200-mile deep area, that comes from the border of Ukraine. And NATO troops can be put in Ukraine and do an incursion into Russia. They could start grabbing 20 miles, set up camps, embankments, then go another 20 miles and another 20 and another 20. And every time they cover, I'm just arbitrarily saying maybe they can conquer 20 miles in a day, maybe they can't, maybe they can conquer 40, I don't know. But they probably don't know either. Let's say they get 40 or 50, let's say, let's round up, they get 50 miles deeper into Russia. Well, now the missiles from France, UK, and America, the long-range missiles, can go another 50 miles deeper into Russia, plus drones. You could throw long-range artillery into the mix too. So you're creating a way to invade Russia. You just keep pushing your front line deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into Russia. Now, NATO has to break cover and swarm into Ukraine to initially get rid of the Russian soldiers that are relatively trapped in Ukraine, in that area of Western Ukraine that Putin has been, dominating with his troops. So you got to get rid of them, and that's a considerable battle, I would expect. But with B-52s and, B-1 and B-2 bombers and regular F-15s, F-16s and stuff like that, you could just start plowing them down where they're going to be hiding and they're going to be surrendering and throwing their uniforms off and running away. Remember, they speak Russian in Ukraine, so they could get lost in the civilian population. And then once they got this piece of Ukraine back and they have it set up as NATO air bases, land bases, etc., they'll try to put warships in the Black Sea to protect Ukraine from the Black Sea attack by Russia. Russia now has 6 warships capable of launching missiles. So you call them missile cruisers, missile destroyers, whatever you want to call them, in the Black Sea, and that's probably there so they can shoot missiles into Ukraine. Can Ukraine attack those ships? Well, Ukraine has been successful in sinking several Russian warships during the course of the war, and they probably can do even better now. Speaking of that, the Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Group has left the Middle East. The Houthis are saying they drove it out by constantly attacking it with its two destroyers, but I think that's wishful thinking on the part of the Houthis. They said they damaged the aircraft carrier. America rejected that statement. They both lie. The Houthis lie and America lies, so I couldn't tell you. I suspect they may have damaged the ship, but the ship was scheduled to leave. But the anomaly here is the Harry Truman Aircraft Carrier Group is now chugging on its way to the theater in the Middle East. And the Abraham Lincoln is kind of pulling out, but maybe the Abraham Lincoln is just hanging around Cyprus or something where it could still go into action if it had to, yet it'd be safe from attack, and just waiting for the Harry Truman to get closer. That would be a more logical explanation. But it seems that the Americans probably did hasten the departure of the Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Group. Excuse me, see what this is. Potential fraud, I love that. So we just wait for it to stop ringing. For them to get out from under the potential fraud stuff, they have to keep changing SMS chips, which is not so cheap. And the Israeli people report it as fraud, and when they keep trying to use the same phone chips, they get nowhere. They just keep dialing numbers and nobody answers. They can set up fraud operations in Lebanon, in Syria, and in Gaza, and in Jordan, and I believe they do. They get chips from, what do they call them? Disposable phone chips from stores, and they put them in, that kind of thing. Prepaid, and they're immune from prosecution in these other countries pretty much, so they just try to run fraud out of there. And sometimes they're living in the West Bank, they're terrorists and pro-terrorist people. So we have a fair share of this, but the way they set the phone systems up is quite good. You just you get rid of them. You don't even have to talk to them. You don't have to figure out what they want, Okay, so we get a reasonable amount of those. I don't know how many. I get it about 3 times a week, I guess. Not that much. Before when the system was new and not that many people were using it, it was much higher. They also, with the GPS systems, which are generally turned off now because of the war, when you would be driving, your GPS would say things like, 5 kilometers ahead, radar trap, So the police never stopped them from doing that. I don't know why. In America, going back into the 60s, you would hear in the radio, in the news in the morning, some of these news stations in New York, they had a big audience and big money, would fly helicopters around spot radar. They fly and they have a news helicopter, so they were authorized to fly. They have binoculars and they phone in radar location over here, and they would announce it every so often on the air where the radar setup is. And the police eventually got them to knock it off. I think they were threatening their license. I got an SMS, but I think this is real. Let me see what it says. 1 second. I don't think they were related. Yeah, it's nothing. It's just telling me a shipment headed my way to launch. Not here yet. Okay, so what's Russia going to do? See, they barked about the red line with the ATACM missiles from America. Now the Storm Shadows were launched. I guess next comes the French missiles. I thought Germany gave them some stuff, but I don't know. But they're also getting long-range rocket-propelled artillery, which could go, I don't know, 75 to 90 miles, enough to really, really damage Russia. And I don't know what kind of warhead. I guess if you change the weight of the warhead, you make a bigger warhead, like you go, I don't know, 25, 50-pound warhead, you might only go 75 miles. If you go 12, 15 pounds, you might go 90, something like that. But that's another problem Putin got. And these warheads are not big money. And America's giving them more of these. Apparently, I think they're giving them rocket-propelled artillery shells too. So, you know, when you look at the picture, I'm going to look at a map for a minute, okay? I don't have the geography of Ukraine in my head, although one of my grandparents came from Ukraine, but it was part of Russia at the time. I'll just pull up some map from Google and look for a good one, which you don't often find, but let's see, I think I might have one. Yeah, almost had one. Let's try this one. No, this stupid map. We'll try another one. Stupid map. I'll get one for you, don't worry. I got one. All right, so Ukraine sits on top of Moldova, basically on top of Romania, a little piece of Hungary in the northeast borders southwest Ukraine, Slovakia on the southwest, but it has a large border with Poland, basically Romania, and then a lot with Russia. Get into another map here for a minute, if I can find anything worthwhile. It also borders Belarus. Which is basically a Russian military base. So if they have their proxy, NATO proxy, EU proxy, Ukraine shoving Russia's supply lines back even 100 miles, it becomes dangerous for Russia to get supplies through that 100 miles of no man's land, let's call it, to get to Ukraine. So the supply of the Russian troops in Ukraine, which is probably a few 100,000 by now, is greatly diminished, and they're going to start having outages of what? Of everything. Food, medical, ammo, missiles, rockets, broken equipment, no parts, fuel, everything. they're going to be in bad shape. So what does Putin do then? Well, an army, crawls on its stomach. You don't have food for the people. You know, the American generals, when they conduct exercises with their soldiers, or they're in war with their soldiers, the generals know it's very important if the weather is cold, which it frequently is. Look, if they're in 85, 95-degree weather, they're not very interested in making sure the guys get a hot meal. The guys want a cool drink, they want ice cream, they want ices, they want, they want a cold soda, cold juice. They don't want, a hot meal. Who wants to eat a hot meal when it's 90 degrees or 80 degrees even? So, and you're outside. So what they do in cold weather, which Ukraine now is cold weather, and Russia is cold weather, and in the next few weeks, like in December, it's going to be very cold weather. The generals try, like all get up, to make sure their troops in the field get a hot meal. The generals really like to see that happen 2, 3 times a day, but at least once a day. A hot meal warms you up inside. Your core temperature goes up. You eat a hot piece of meat. Let's say you got meatball and spaghetti. It's hot. Okay, and then they give you a warm piece of bread and butter with it, and maybe they give you a warm baked potato. I don't know, whatever. It's warming up your inner core. It goes down into your stomach, and your core warms up, and you feel better. Not for many hours, but it gives you, a pickup, and it's psychologically good. They'll give them a cup of hot soup. If you're out in the field and, you get a hot meal, it makes you feel better. And also, when you're in 80, 90-degree heat, you're not going to eat that much. You're going to probably start losing weight. You'll drink more, but you're not going to eat that much. But when you're in cold weather, and you're outside, you probably got to bump your calories 1,000, 1,200 calories to keep your weight up, because your body's burning all this energy all the time to keep you warm. Okay? So the point of this is, Putin ain't going to be giving their guys hot meals. And they're probably staying inside buildings and structures and tents with heaters and generators. And, guys, parts of Russia go to minus 40 in the winter. You heard me. Minus 40. Lots of Russia goes to 0 and below 0. If you're outside, and let's not even talk minus 20, let's not talk minus 40, let's not talk minus 20, let's talk 0. Okay? You got life-threatening situation. Okay? They need things to keep them warm. You can't just dig a trench or a foxhole and lay there day after day at 0 degrees. You're not going to wake up. They need to go inside something, even a tent with a heater, anything. Okay, and Ukraine too can get to. Let's look at the weather. Okay, let's look at the weather today in Ukraine. Let's be smart, right? Okay. Let's just use Kiev. Kiev weather today, and then we'll do Moscow. Okay. Let's not play games. Let's get the real. It's saying Kiev is 1 degree, but I don't know for it's centigrade or Fahrenheit. Let me keep looking. Let me specify Fahrenheit so we could understand, because I don't know what I'm reading here. if I'm in centigrade or Fahrenheit. Let's specify Fahrenheit. It's still not specifying. Let me see. Well, it's probably 1 degree centigrade because it's got a report for rain, not snow. Here's a better. So it's talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees as the temperature in Ukraine. The 10-day forecast. Let's see. So the snow has not yet come. No, it does. It is getting snow already. So they're telling me 35 degrees. Well, that's definitely not centigrade because you'd be in a heat wave and there wouldn't be snow. So that's centigrade. So it's 35. Then tonight it'll be 26. So the real dead of winter has not yet come in yet, okay? But it's cold. Now soldiers could stay outside, I'd say, when it's above freezing if they got really good winter gear with, good helmet with some sort of a hat under the helmet, nice layered coats and things, thermal underwear and stuff, and heavy padded pants and good insulated boots and everything. I think they could survive outside pretty okay if it's above freezing. Now let's check the weather in Moscow. So it could be another month before the weather starts getting brutal. Let's take a look at Moscow and then we'll get the lay of the land out, Betty. I'm picking up 7, 8 degrees, but I might be picking that up in centigrade. So I think Moscow is slightly warmer. 8 degrees centigrade, yeah. So it's not yet, the fullness of the winter is not yet there. I would say at a maximum, you got 30 days and the fullness of winter will be on them. So Russia's troops are going to get cut off because every time he tries to send a convoy of supplies, and when you got hundreds of thousands of soldiers, you're talking about 80 or 90 trucks. They don't use a tractor trailer. They usually use like a 26-foot truck or a 30-foot truck or a 21-foot truck. They can put a lot of junk in that, though, right? You need to send lots of truckloads every week. I would say if you got, let's see, how many troops does Russia have in Ukraine? Let's check that out. They probably know. Russia's in real bad trouble. That's what I'm telling you. Russia broke Germany with that winter. And I think now it's being used to break them. anything recent here. I would think it's between 200. I would say it's probably at least 150,000, maybe 200,000 inside Ukraine, and a lot more in Russia near Ukraine. And that's a massive amounts of convoys to supply these people. Once they start running low on ammo and food, they're finished. They got to surrender or die or defect and run away. There's no other option. You think the Russian people are not thinking, oh, I'll fight to the last bullet and get killed, and I'll go to paradise and get my 70 virgins. They don't believe that. They're not going to go die for Putin when they don't get support from Putin. They're going to, they'll run away or they'll surrender. And America will make sure that when they surrender, Ukraine gives them hot meals, medical, puts them in a heated tent or a heated barracks. They'll go for interrogation where they'll get intel out of them, but the intel is going to be fairly not high value, and, they're going to treat them well. That's the way they were treating the German prisoners of war during World War II, and it encouraged more surrenders, So Putin's soldiers in Russia near Ukraine are also not going to be able to get supplies. So what does Putin do then? Do you understand this tactic? And they're using Ukraine to do it. So Putin sits still for it. Any ammo depots near there, tanks, missiles, supplies of missiles, missile launches, radar, fuel supply, even maybe water supply. When the ground is frozen hard, you got to, what are you going to do for water? They need water, medical. You don't just have medical equipment, you got to have medical personnel, nurses, doctors. They need to have a place to conduct medical procedures, probably light operations and stuff like that. And then they need to evacuate deeper into Russia where they have a real, brick and mortar hospital. Although with Putin, he may just say the heck with the soldiers. Putin is a dog, okay? He's a vicious animal. And when he gets desperate, he'll draft his people into the military and just throw them in front of the tanks. He doesn't care. There's no compassion. So this is what they're trying to do. And then when the troops inside Ukraine and in the Russian border near Ukraine are cut off from supplies, they'll wipe them out or take them captive. And then the next thing is they're going to start grabbing land in Russia. Their plan is to break Russia up in pieces, giving it to the NATO countries and so forth. So what does Putin do? If Putin does nothing, anything within 175, 200 miles of Ukraine that is a worthwhile target is going to get knocked out. And France and America and the UK are going to keep feeding these long-range missiles, even longer-range HIMARS, which I think Biden's giving them more HIMARS, we read yesterday. So they're going to give them more weapons to destroy more Russian facilities. I heard that when you add it up, it comes to about 250 targets. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but it would probably be at least 70 or 100 targets. So what are Putin's options? Well, Putin can go just say to heck with it and draw down his good aircraft, his good long-range missiles, and his good attack helicopters, his good troops, leaving Russia not so well defended, and try to do some sort of an attack on Ukraine to devastate it. And what would that be? Well, you would probably be looking at least 25 long-range bombers that could drop a lot of ordnance. You'd probably be looking at, over a course of time, 500 long-range missiles, which NATO would love to see him use those up, because then he can't shoot them into NATO countries. They think that'd be the greatest thing that could happen. Of course, Ukraine wouldn't like it. Uses ships to pelt Ukraine with missiles. So you got bombers, long-range missiles coming out of Russia that are beyond the reach of the Ukraine missiles. Nobody's giving Ukraine missiles with ranges of 6, 8, 5, 6, 700 miles yet. They haven't done that yet, but they might, right? Okay, keep your eyes open. They might. So the next phase for Putin, the safest, is not to attack Poland and Romania or Lithuania or Estonia or Latvia or Finland or Norway or Denmark. The safest bet for him now is to try to obliterate Ukraine. And I can tell you, based on the amount of weapons that Biden and France and UK and Germany and other countries are giving, Italy and so forth, that are giving to Ukraine, they're not going to sit still and let that happen. They know what the plan would be. So you're going to see Putin have to do some very uncomfortable things. And he may try to go for low-hanging fruit. Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, countries that can't really do much to defend themselves against Russia. And that would cause deployment of NATO troops in that area. Now, Putin, you gotta listen to this, Putin would be very happy to fight NATO on the turf of other countries, like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, or Norway, or Sweden, and Denmark, or Poland, or Romania. You'd be very happy to fight them there. Putin would be very sad to be fighting them on Russian territory, and that this war with Ukraine, not only have they occupied 135 square kilometers, not miles, kilometers of Russian territory that Russia can't drive them out of, they were also pelting missiles and rockets into Russia. It looks like now daily, long range, and they're also able to bring drones deep into Russia, like 75 miles and stuff like that. So can Putin, if he can obliterate Ukraine, the war's over, right? Well, how can he obliterate Ukraine if NATO doesn't want that to happen? They'll just put their own troops in there. They've pushed Russia so far. How much do you think that they're not capable of sending 100 F-16s or similar aircraft into Ukraine flown by NATO pilots? What's that do to Russia? Well, that 200, let's call it a 200-mile swath of land that Russia has to traverse to get supplies into their troops in the occupied part of Ukraine, becomes a no man's land because with constant surveillance by America and NATO, they'll just launch F-16s to blow up all the trucks in any convoy. If Russia tries to fly the planes, the supplies on cargo planes, he's going to have a rather substantial amount of cargo planes shuttling the supplies, but they'll get taken down. Cargo planes are not easily defendable. So, are you seeing the fall of Russia? Probably. And it ain't even Gog and Magog, and we're seeing Russia going down. Now, this is the million-dollar question. Does Iran, North Korea, and China sit still and let Russia fall? Iran's about to fall too, let me clue you in. I don't think America will actually tell Israel to attack Iran because they're going to join in this attack. It's rather obvious eventually. Until the Harry Truman is here. They're not going to want to do it without an aircraft carrier group somewhere because they really like those aircraft carrier groups. Although they have a lot of aircraft on the ground, they love those aircraft carrier groups. And I wouldn't know how many days the Harry Truman's going to take. I would say on the outside, 15 days, on the inside 4 or 5, a weekish probably. You better believe Russia ain't, although they're saying there's 30,000 Russian troops in Ukraine. I don't know how long they're going to stay there, but that's probably to stop a ground invasion or something like that. Listen, the bottom line is China, North Korea, and Iran know if Russia goes, they're going to get picked off one by one. And are they willing to get picked off? And if they don't want to get picked off, they just submit to America. They sit down and they say, okay, what do we got to do to get rid of the sanctions? Okay, we'll do it. And what's the problem? Okay, if we leave Taiwan alone and we get our friends North Korea to leave South Korea alone, withdraw the artillery and the missiles on the border, will you kill the sanctions? And that's the peace deal. If you think China's about to do that. And Biden and the European Union are going to want to see an end to BRICS, I guarantee you. They're going to want BRICS to be over with. If they do that, they'll ease the sanctions, and then America reigns over them and dictates to them. And America has, China and North Korea may say, go get rid of Iran. We don't care. They don't need Iran. Iran's a throwaway asset. They don't care. I think Russia cares a little bit because Putin tries to be faithful to his mutual defense treaties, but I think that type of faithfulness is absent from the likes of lunatics like China and North Korea, communists. I don't think so. So, what's next? Well, I would say the odds are high that China and North Korea are not going to let Russia go down. There's a lot of things they could do. They could transfer substantial amounts of troops and equipment into Russia, but how long does that take? Well, it would take 6 weeks probably on an emergency basis. Maybe they could do it in 3 or 4, maybe too late. If Iran sends their troops, into Russia, it might help too, but Iran is probably unlikely to be ground invaded, but if they reduce their ability to repel a ground invasion, they might be ground invaded. They got to be careful. Basically, you head into Jeremiah 30, verse 11, and Jeremiah 46, verse 28, which is fairly identical. It's the same thing. They're going to destroy each other. And the European Union, you see, when Russia attacks or Iran attacks the NATO members, they're in the EU, and if you attack with NATO, it's all for one and one for all. And with the European Union, it's all for one and one for all. So it's not going to just be NATO. It's going to be the European Union, which is going to include NATO. Of course, with America and the UK, which are not in the EU, but they're in NATO, fighting against Russia. Openly. The only other option is Russia makes peace, which would mean probably withdrawing from Ukraine. If he does that, then it stops. Do you think Russia's going to do that? I don't. Russia just hit Ukraine with 6 ICBMs. You might have just picked it up in the last few minutes. I didn't pick it up when I was checking before the broadcast, but it could have been they were threatening to do so. And I heard that they were staging ICBM missiles early this morning. I heard that. So they probably did do it. It's probably valid information. And let me take a quick check and see if I could get any details on this ICBM attack. Let's see. Give me a second. I'll try Twitter. They'll probably have it. I don't know why the dog's barking out there. Yes, it's valid information. I don't know how many ICBMs have been launched yet. Let me poke around for that. This just makes it worse, guys. You got to get that. I mean, now NATO, NATO and America are, going to toast each other with a glass of champagne over this because they want Russia using these ICBM missiles. But I'm hearing it was a ICBM, a single. It was definitely not nuclear. All the reports are saying a single missile. It was a conventional warhead. It took place, Ukraine is saying the launch came from the Astrakhan region of the Russian Federation, an area to the southeast of Volgograd Yeah, I don't have a great Russian pronunciation. Everybody's saying it was a single ICBM, which is just a very long range missile. Uh, so why would they launch one? It was a warning, I guess. I'm not picking up any damage reports. The ICBM also, I believe, came with other missiles that were not ICBMs, and the target was the city of Dnipro in Ukraine. Now, I found the report that said it was multiple missiles, but I think it was one ICBM. The ICBM did get through, it wasn't taken down. You could have a 3,000 pound warhead or something like that. Okay, so it is good, valid information. Thank you, and that means it's just another escalation. Uh, ICBM, that's their big response. So I hear you on that. I hear you, but um, I think what we're talking about here is um, it was a test, it was a warning to Ukraine, um, and it's telling them more is going to be coming. Ukraine is not going to deter, it has NATO behind them. It will just continue uh, doing long range missile attacks against them. See, NATO would love it if Russia uses these missiles up because then they can't hit NATO countries. And, like, they won't be used against Poland, Romania, and that kind of thing. So let's see what happens. It's certainly not stopping America, so their push to get rid of Russia is going to keep continuing. So, what did Russia accomplish by this? Nothing or close to nothing. That's what Russia accomplished by this. Um, that's about it. They accomplished what? Not a thing. Uh, it definitely um, damaged something, but if Russia starts launching 6 a day, after a few days of that, it's going to take its toll. But the thing that I'm seeing here now is if Russia pulls out of Ukraine, it's over. If Russia does not pull out of Ukraine and China and North Korea and Iran don't come help Russia, it's over for Russia. If China and North Korea stay out of it and Iran helps Russia, it's over for Russia and Iran. Iran can't do nothing. Iran's a big mouth. You let's see what happens. Let me go pull the chief dog in. He's barking, and there must be a good reason for it. I don't know. He might need something. Let me go see how he's doing, okay? I'll be right back. I don't want to leave the guy barking his head off if he needs me. Now, he climbed up some steps, the big shot, and then he decided he didn't want to jump down the steps. So he kept barking for me to take him down the steps so he could go out in the grass area and do a potty run, I guess. So he's okay. All right. So, is the world going to war? You bet. I can't see this turning around. I don't see this turning around. I see the war. That's what I see. I'm quite certain of it. And soon, too. Putin no longer, if he ignores this, you're crossing a red line with the long-range missiles. Okay, forget the nuke thing. Yeah, we covered that yesterday. But, he's got to take a response, conventional weapon response in a big way, or they're just going to mow him down, NATO and European Union. They don't like BRICS. They don't like him. And they're going to get rid of him. And I told you the very likely way they'll do it. Now, where's the Antichrist? Where's the beast? Where's the false prophet? Where's the man that's going to talk peace and in the middle of the 7 years? This is the church narrative, not the Bible. Although a lot of this stuff does happen in the Bible, it's not for now. They're not teaching you what is now. Okay? And let me debunk some of the garbage that they teach. There's so many churches and they teach junk because they don't know any better or they want to deceive you. Take your pick. It's one or the other. Okay? If the blind follow the blind, they both wind up in the pit. So if these church teachers are teaching blind, they don't have any spiritual insight, and you follow them, you're going to go to the pit with them. Okay? And if they're evil and you follow them, then they're taking you to the pit with intent and design and purpose. Let's talk about them with their theories. Yeshua is going to come back any day now, right? Okay, let's set that aside very easily. I got to find the verse for you, and then I'll read it to you. Acts 3:20, I believe. Let's go there. Acts 3:20. And he shall send Yeshua HaMashiach, which before was preached unto you, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution or restoring of all things, which God hath spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. All things, restore all things. That's the law, that's the temple, all this stuff that the church teaches was going to happen. But have all things been restored now? What does the world consist of? Atheists, communists, Buddhists, Hindus, Islam, Judaism that denies Yeshua, the churches with all kinds of crazy doctrines that they can't agree on, you think this is all things restored? I don't. Who restores all things? Elijah. Has he started working openly? No. So these people that are teaching you Yeshua can come anytime now, I got rocks in their heads. They got blindfolds on, spiritual blindfolds. They don't know what they're talking about. What about the rapture? Oh, we'll be waving bye-bye any day now. Yeah, that's a nice doctrine, but did Yeshua ever teach you that? How about let's see when Yeshua said that we go up to heaven. And this is the Father's will, John 6:39, this is the Father's will which has sent me, that of all which he has given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. Everybody goes up on the same day, the last day, which means there's no more days. So it's after the millennium, after Satan's released, God the Father comes down and Satan has them surround Jerusalem, New Jerusalem. God the Father burns the whole universe up. We meet him in the air because there's no place to stand. And we have a spiritual body. The dead are risen from the graves. And then we all go up to heaven at the same time on this day, the last day. There's no more days on a cloud. That's how it happens. That's what he said it again in John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone would see the Son and believeth on him, and have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Okay? He says it a third time, John 6:44. No man could come to me except the Father which had sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. Everybody goes up on the same day. He says it a fourth time. Whosoever eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood, communion, hath eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Everybody goes up on the same day. There's no left behind rapture. Where is the tribulation saints in the Bible? You got a verse for me? I can't find one. Nobody can. It's not there. Where's the pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib rapture? It's not there. These people that teach this are defying the word of God to teach you lies. They know that this is there. They ignore it. They're teaching lies. Okay? What do you want to do with that? You want to follow it? Where's the man of sin? You think he's going to come and speak peace? You're nuts? Where? Where is he? The war's begun. It's advancing. You got to wake up. The churches around the world are about to fall apart. Once this stuff happens, why are they going to fall apart? Because they're chasing rapture theories. They're chasing Yeshua coming to earth, theories that are not valid. They're teaching the Lord is dead. People don't know what to believe. The churches are so divided. A house divided unto itself shall not stand. These churches will not stand. They're not of God. They don't preach the Bible. They will not stand. They're built on sand. And when the storm comes, it washes them away. Guess what? The storm is advancing by the hour, by not only by the day now, by the hour. What do you think Ukraine's going to do tomorrow? What kind of missiles are they going to launch? They use the American long range. Now they use the British. I guess next comes the French long range missiles. And then they're going to be getting, in the very immediate future, I assume, rocket propelled artillery shells. And that's going to be fun for Russia, too. Can Russia snuff out Ukraine and remove the threat? I don't know. NATO's going to not let Russia destroy Ukraine and occupy it and be a threat to them, just like China, North Korea, and Iran aren't going to sit there and let Russia fall apart. And then you could throw in Belarus, Cuba, Venezuela, some of the stand countries that align themselves with Russia, probably Azerbaijan and Armenia will be involved. Pakistan and Afghanistan will probably get into something. It's just going to be a wipeout for these people. They're going to knock each other's lights out. And America's got the sleeper agents, and we know the prophecies in Isaiah 47, Jeremiah 50 and 51. Where's your man of sin? Where's your beast? Where's your Antichrist? Where is he? Let's see when the beast does appear what it looks like. Okay? You go to Revelation 13. Church doesn't teach you this, but it's logic. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, so he's by the coast at the beach, I guess you would say, saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Well, did Trump rise up out of the sea? Did Putin? Did Biden? Did Xi Jinping in China? Did the King of England? Did Trudeau? Did Obama? Who? Did Zelensky? Did Netanyahu? Who rose up out? None of them. Why don't you get into the reality of what your own Bible tells you? Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. This is the beast. This is not Satan. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. That's his attributes. The Lion of Judah. Did Yeshua look like a lion and he has a mane and claw? Of course not. And the dragon gave him his power. Satan's the dragon. He doesn't look like a dragon. His attributes are like that. Gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So Satan gives the beast his power, his seat, and his authority. And the beast comes up out of the sea. Who the heck came up out of the sea? Remember, it tells you about the beast. He was, he is, and will go into perdition. So what? Trump or Biden or Putin used to be, and they went in the pit and they came up out of the pit. Come on. You think the church guys don't know these scriptures? They just don't teach them to you. So Satan gives him his seat. Where the heck is Satan's seat? Oh, it's in Jerusalem. Oh, it is? Let's see what our own Bible tells us where Satan's seat is. Revelation 2, chapter 12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos, right? Pergamos is a city in what we call today North Cyprus that's owned, operated, and controlled by Turkey, a Muslim majority country. And there is no Pergamos in Israel. There never was. Now, your more modern, crappier translations say Pergamum. Great. Where's Pergamum? It's in mainland Turkey. There never was a Pergamum in Israel. Never will be. Okay? Pergamos. Write these things, saith, which is Cyprus. It's in Cyprus. Write these things. When you go to Cyprus on a ferry boat from Israel, you got to sleep on the boat. It's overnight. If you want to save money, you can sleep on a bench, but a lot of people would get a cabin, I guess. These things saith he which hath the sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Well, how about that? The Bible just told you Satan's seat's in Pergamos in Cyprus, actually North Cyprus by the coastline, by the beach. And that's where Satan's seat is. And since Satan gives the beast his seat, the beast's temple is in Cyprus, not Jerusalem, like these jackasses that hate Israel tell you. Oh, they can't come out and tell you they hate Israel. They just turn you against Israel. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in these days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. This was written almost 2,000 years ago. So, of course, Satan was already thrown down. He's living in Cyprus. Satan gives the beast his power, his authority, and his seat. So the beast is where Satan is, which is in Cyprus. That's where the temple's going to be. That's his seat. That's his throne, his seat. It's going to be there. And they teach you it's going to be in Israel because they hate Israel. Your Bible doesn't teach you that. They teach you that. Big difference. Now, people run away when I teach this. They say, oh, he's an apostate lunatic. I'm just reading out of your Bible. If you don't want to believe your Bible, what are you bothering for? Someone writes, let's see, could Russia and Ukraine possibly just be trying to position themselves as strong as possible before the Trump administration comes into power to possibly? I don't see it. The sea represents people. The waters, the flood of the waters, yeah, it means peoples. I used to say peoples in the plural. Is that you? Okay. The horns represent kings. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got it. For a while, it looks like BRICS was the 10 horns, but BRICS is 27, 28 members now. So trash that theory. Let me check my notes. I'm not telling you that I'm supposed to tell you. The UN Security Council had a vote yesterday on forcing a ceasefire, I guess, on Gaza and Israel without any other conditions, including that did not have to be a return of hostages, and the United States vetoed it. Some of these hostages are American citizens as well, apparently. That was not bad. Then America's threatening to put sanctions on the ICJ court if they put arrest warrants out for Netanyahu. The hotline between the United States and Russia is no longer operational, according to Russia. So that means if an event happened and tensions flared, they could get the leaders could talk to each other on the phone and calm it down. But that's not an option anymore. Russia says they're going to seize the assets of Russian corporations that invested inside Russia, like America did to them. So I don't know if there's some big American conglomerate and it bought a plant or a factory or a chain of stores or whatever in Russia, made real estate investments, they're going to confiscate the investments like America did to them. Good luck with that. America is the hammer of the whole earth in Jeremiah 50:51. Name what other country that has what, 100 bases, military bases all around the world in different countries, or maybe they only have 88 or something. Name one other country. No other country comes close. Remember that. Adding on to yesterday, talking about nukes and Bible prophecy, why are they beating the nuke drum? Because the nuke thing is like CERN, or they had another one like CERN, HARP. They want you to fear man because it's a snare for you to fear man. That's in the Bible. To fear man is a snare. You got to fear God. And they want you to fear man. That's why they beat the nuke drum. To get you sinful. In sin, to fear man more than God, for instance, or to just fear man, you're not supposed to. Also, if the nukes did happen, they would destroy not just the cities and the people and the army and the military bases and the airports and the power plants. They would cause the destruction of the crops from the radiation that their narrative says is real. They would destroy the crops. They would get in the water, probably ruin the water, and they would kill the animals. And the land would lay fallow or dead for how many generations? Remember with the Chernobyl story, it was radioactive for what, 40 years, 20 years? You know. Don't believe that stuff with them. Oh, we got a prayer request for a dog named Pete. Prayer request for a dog named Pete needs healing. We do real good with our animal prayer requests. A dog named Pete needs healing. I don't have the specifics, but we'll pray for healing for the dog named Pete. All right. If you guys got questions, I can cover questions. See, this Caliphate thing that Iran is building is very frightening to America and NATO and the EU and other countries because they want to control the whole Middle East with the oil and natural gas. And then natural gas and oil not going to be sold from the Middle East in dollars or euros. They could dictate who gets to buy it and who doesn't and at what price. There'll be different prices for different people. So it's very scary to them. It's horrifying to Europe and NATO and them. They're not real happy about this at all. And they're scared of it. It's frightening to them. So the beast, which is the church erroneously calls it the Antichrist, the scripture says, when they, roughly 2,000 years ago, even now there are many Antichrists, plural, among you. So come on, get off the Antichrist thing. It just means someone opposed to Christ. Every leader of every country in the world today is opposed to Christ. The beast comes up out of the pit. When the pit opens, the dark smoke comes up and blocks the sun, and the locusts that have stingers like scorpions and others like a snake, a serpent, come out. And that hasn't happened yet. It will. It hasn't happened yet. And one of the big scriptures that they talk about is Gog and Magog, where you read about the eyes melt in their sockets and the skin off their bones, and they say, oh, that's a nuke, that's a nuke. It's not for now. Ezekiel 38 says it's not a nuke and it's not for now. It's the glory of God of Israel doing it. Ezekiel 38 says, when it happens, Israel shall be living without bars and walls, in peace and safety at rest. You'd have to have rocks in your head to think Israel's living without bars and walls, in peace and safety right now. And it says that the enemy comes to take great riches and booty, a spoil. It mentions cattle, silver, and gold. A major portion, 28% of Israel, lives at the poverty line. 28%. And that's before the war. I'd say it's probably up to 40% now. Because the economy got hurt in some areas. 35% anyway. And it's not now, guys. There's plenty of bars and walls, and everybody's scared. Every day, drones, missiles, rockets coming in. Netanyahu, the Supreme Court's bearing down on him. They're saying, hey, man, you got to come to trial on this, on your criminal cases. And they're saying, we want to get you in. We want to know why you never conducted an investigation about October 7th. And we want to know what sort of involvement you had the Supreme Court, the High Court of Israel's bearing down on Netanyahu about October 7th. Why? Biden didn't want Netanyahu visiting America for the longest time. And then in September, he just out of the clear blue sky says, yeah, Netanyahu can visit me anytime, like he's his old buddy. Then on the 23rd of September, Netanyahu goes over there. Now, there was a lot of talk about warnings coming to us that the Hamas and Gaza was staging a big invasion. And he met with Biden on the 23rd of September. Then it happened on October 7th, and our guard was down. We have sensors. Nobody was responding to them on the border with Gaza. We have cameras, day and night vision. We have soldiers that were monitoring the cameras. A lot of them were women soldiers that were not combat trained. They were just in various locations, watchtowers, etc., to watch the cameras. And if they see something happen, they'd report it. They were phoning it in, and the people receiving their report were laughing at them, telling them, no, you're imagining this, right? We usually have trackers, Bedouins, that would stay by the border. They're like Apache or Cherokee Indians in the 1800s or 1700s. They could track a person. So if someone does manage to sneak in, they follow his tracks and grab him. They weren't operating. I was sitting outside early in the morning. I got out there about 5 o'clock, and the red alert started going off like a machine gun. It didn't stop. I thought the system got hacked. It was very early in the morning. I couldn't really understand what was going on. And then after about 45 minutes, other people started getting on social media, and they didn't understand it either. I'm up in the north, not the south. Now, normally the planes would have been down there to attack within minutes. I'd say attacking in Israel on the ground, they would have been there in 8 or 10, 12 minutes. It took them about 3 hours. When the soldiers were calling for help, help would usually come in at max 10 minutes, something like that. They'd send Apaches, they'd send tanks, Humvees, trucks, anything and everything. Help didn't come for 8 hours. So it looks like Netanyahu allowed this to happen. He worked out something with Biden, and what they worked out was probably to get rid of Iran. And the court's now saying, Netanyahu, why did you never conduct an investigation? We want to know. We want to know what happened. They're looking into this too now. The Supreme Court, or the High Court of Israel, hates Netanyahu because he's trying to strip them of their power. So they're starting to bear down on Netanyahu with his 3 criminal cases, which could give him 16 years in jail if he gets the full penalty. So Netanyahu is a scoundrel, putting it mildly. He's, I think, the worst leader we ever had, worse than King Saul, worse than any king. None of them did those parades in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, you know what I mean? Only he had enough nerve to do that. He's in a deception. He thinks Satan's more powerful than God or something. So there's trouble there, but I don't think anybody's ready to throw Netanyahu out of office at this time, and I don't think we're seeing anything like a civil war coming up in Israel either. And I think Netanyahu could be guilty of dragging out the wars, thinking he could get the people to support him in diminishing the power of the judicial branch, and then doing away with his court cases by getting him granted immunity from prosecution of civil or criminal nature for anything he did when he was seated as the prime minister. When do I think the beast will come up out of the pit? Well, you've got to learn a little bit about what the Bible really says. Daniel 9:24 does not say 70 weeks. In every single Hebrew manuscript, remember this is Old Testament, it says 70, 70. It's the same exact word, shavim, shavim. The first 70 was 70 years Babylon captivity. So we know it's 70 years. The second 70 starts with the appearing of the Son and the Son of Man, which is Redemption Day. The first, it's a year of redemption, but that's the start of it. And you need to study Zechariah 12:10 with, well, I can read it to you. Now, this is Zechariah 12 is the war that's already going on here in the Middle East that the church never teaches, because when you read about this, they lay siege around Judah and Jerusalem. I'm going to go through this extremely fast. And then you see Zechariah 12:6, in that day will I make the governors, the word would be judges, of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf. Now it says it twice because there's two of them, and the only people, who do you know has fire coming out of their mouth but the two witnesses? So the two witnesses are here at this time. This could be just about any day now. It's certainly not going to be a long time off. They're going to burn up the enemies. It says, and they shall devour, it's better translated burn up, all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain still, inhabited in her own place. They twist the words up on this slightly too, probably not intentionally, maybe intentionally. And then you see in Zechariah 12:10, now I'm not really seriously teaching this, I'm opening your eyes to it, and then you need to study it. Zechariah 12:10, I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. Well, now they're believers because he poured a spirit out on them. That's obvious. And then it says, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only, and be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. So they look upon Yeshua and mourn. Well, obviously 2,000 or so years ago, they weren't mourning. So what happens when they see Yeshua? Well, when the Spirit's just poured out on them, they're believers. So you go to John 6:40, John 6:40. And this is the will of him that sent me, everyone which seeth the Son of Man and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So everlasting life means not that you can't die, it means you'll live a very long time, like before the flood, only probably longer. And then you read this with 1 John 3:2. And I gotta get this right. 1 John 3, verse 2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. That's your Zechariah 12:10. And now I'm going through this very fast because I've taught it, 12 times. Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. Oh, it sounds just like Zechariah 12:10. And all kindreds, all tribes of the land shall wail because of him. Wail means mourn, and we just read there mourning in Israel over him. Even so, amen. So if you're a true believer in Yeshua, not an Israelite born, you'll still have this everlasting life. Everlasting life, you could read in Malachi 4. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day cometh that shall burn them up, saith Jehovah. Well, we read this is the same day as Zechariah 12:10, saith Jehovah of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son, S-U-N, of righteousness, that's Yeshua, arise with healing in his extremities, and you shall go forth and grow up. You shall frolic about as calves of the stall, is what it's really saying. So you're going to be young and healthy again. That's all out of your Bibles. So you want to shoot the messenger, go ahead, but you're really shooting your Bible. Yeah, because I'm just reading you the scriptures. And you know, there's for some people, there should be a study Bible called the Ostrich Study Bible, because when you read them the scripture, they just run away. They don't want to accept what their Bible says. So they put their head in the ground like an ostrich when it's in trouble. Very silly. Those in power worship the fallen angels and want them released. Oh, the fallen angels. They love Satan. They're in love with him, and Satan hates them and is destroying them at the same time. So I'd say right now we got to watch Ukraine, Russia a lot. We got to keep our eye on the Iran situation. We just attacked big in Syria last night because Iran keeps trying to set up missiles and stuff like that to attack Israel from Syria. And the word that we're picking up as rumors is that Israel will be striking Iraq soon, because Iraq has a lot of missiles and drones and stuff staged there from Iran to attack us. That's part of their Caliphate. And we need to take out any radar that's still left in Iraq and blow up a lot of these storehouses and warehouses where they keep this stuff. So yeah, it's going to happen. But it's probably more crucial to hit Syria first, because Syria is on a border. Iraq is a distance away, which makes things harder for them to attack Israel, and we have more warning time. When we get attacked by Lebanon or Gaza or even Syria, the warning time is very, very brief. Okay, so that's the problem. So that's what's going on, and I would say that we're headed into Jeremiah 30:11, which is Jeremiah 46, verse 28, where God's going to destroy all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into. He has a, you see, they don't teach you stuff. Isaiah 34, verse 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. They don't teach you the day of the Lord's vengeance. Go try to find one of these churchianity big shots that teaches that. And the year of recompenses, that's the punishment, the payback year. So the day of vengeance is in the punishment year, the year of recompenses. Why? For the controversy of Zion. That's because they don't want Israel to be the head of the nations under Jehovah and Yeshua. Now, there's also a year of redemption, which I covered for you a little bit. But you could read that in Isaiah 63, I don't know, verse 3 or 4. We'll go there, go to verse 3. No, it's verse 4. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So the redemption year and the day of vengeance are also associated. So apparently there's an overlap between the year of recompenses, which comes first, and the year of redemption, and that the day of vengeance is in both of those years. They don't teach anything like that, but we're already in recompenses. Look at Gaza, it's like a destroyed parking lot. Lebanon, South Lebanon looks like that too. So you can get more in-depth Bible studies by going to my YouTube channel. And my videos are in the live section. It has like video shorts live in the live section. And you can see the titles and you'll find different Bible studies in there. You could fast forward through the news for that day and just get to the Bible study. So I hope you got something out of this. My email address is in the lowest line down in the description box. It's also at the top of the chat, and I try to answer questions. I mean, I usually do. And pray for me and my wife. She still needs prayer, but she's coming along. Pray for her. Pray for Chief. He still needs prayer, but he's coming along. And pray for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. And pray for our healing. And pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And that's about it. And you might want to subscribe, and I'll keep you updated. And it'd be nice if you hit the thumbs up button, but most people don't. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And remember when he sent the 70 out, Yeshua told them, when you come to the house, send your shalom to the house, and if the Son of Man be there, it will rest on the house. If not, it will return to you. They never teach you that, do they? Well, they probably don't want you doing it to the pastor's house and the church, do they? Okay, that's what I got, and I'm out. Thank you, guys. Oh, pray for the animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole, please. Thank you.